So, could you please introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Richard LeMarchand, and I am the co-lead game designer of Uncharted 2 Among Thieves.
Could you please tell us a little about the premise for this second game in the Uncharted series?
Yes, well, as you know, with Uncharted 2, we're really striving to create a playable cinematic experience, and so compelling and interesting story is an essential part of that. As in the first game, we're using a real-life historical mystery as the opening premise for the game, which centers around the mystery of the lost fleet of Marco Polo. Marco Polo is the famous Italian adventurer who spent many years in the second half of his life in the court of the Mongol Emperor Kublai Khan, and doing missions for the Khan, exploring the boundaries of his empire. And he spent many years in Asia. When he returned to Italy, the Khan provided him with a huge fleet of, I think, 18 ships, 400 sailors laden with treasure that he was bringing back to Italy. When he arrived back in Italy, he only had one ship remaining, and only, I think, 18 crew members, or maybe 14, I think, crew members had survived. Anyway, this is all a matter of historical record. To this day, historians have no idea what became of all these ships and all of this treasure. So the beginning of the game finds Nathan Drake reuniting with some old friends of his, a woman called Chloe Fraser, who is actually, in fact, an old romantic interest of his, and a British guy called Harry Flynn. All three of them are fortune hunters, guys who work in the often shady world of international artifact dealing. And Chloe and Flynn have a clue to the whereabouts of this lost fleet of Marco Polo, a clue which ultimately leads them on the trail of a thing called the Chintamani Stone, which is Cintamani. It's a fabled Buddhist artifact that grants the bearer great power. It's also, if it existed, it would be worth hundreds of millions of dollars on the open market today, which is probably mainly why these guys are interested in it.
Well, it's certainly an intriguing premise for the game, and as an old adventure gamer myself, I really loved the exploratory parts of the first game, and I've seen you taking a turn for the more action-oriented in the second one. Could you please elaborate a little on this?
Well, the demo that we're showing here at E3, of course, is very heavily action-oriented, but the game is still rich with what we consider to be the main components of an Uncharted game. The first being traversal and exploration. We really want to always give the players the feeling of exploring a rich world and finding unexpected surprises and new pathways through the world. The combat, of course, is another very important component of the game, both cover-based gunplay and also hand-to-hand combat, which we've made much richer in Uncharted 2. And then, of course, problem-solving, whether it's traversal problem-solving, how to find your way up to a place that you know that you have to climb to, or puzzle-solving in the style of the first game.
So obviously there are a lot of things happening on the screen in front of us. Nathan Drake traversing this huge city with a chopper chasing him. Could you tell us a little about the events that we'll see in the game?
Yes, wow. Well, Nate's adventure takes him to an incredible diversity of locations in Uncharted 2. From the archaeological dig site at the start of the game where the lost fleet of Marco Polo might be found, which is in a swamp in Borneo, to this war-torn Nepalese city where a civil war is raging as a backdrop for Nate's adventures, all the way into the snowy Himalayas and into, in fact, mountaineering inside of an island in a chain of icy caves. Even a train ride which takes us into the Himalayas, where Nate has to climb and fight his way along the back of a train as it zooms through the Himalayan countryside. We're very pleased with the incredible diversity of environments that we've managed to squeeze into this game, and I think players are going to be really pleasantly surprised by just how much stuff there is in here.
Coming out of Uncharted 1, was there any one single aspect of the game that you wanted to improve for the sequel?
Well, the very first thing that we did when we started developing Uncharted 2 was to make it so that Nate could shoot no matter what he was doing, whether he was climbing, hanging from an edge, balancing on a beam, because we knew that this would give us incredible opportunities in terms of level layout to create combat setups anywhere in the game, no matter where Drake was, wherever we wanted to drop in some gunplay we could. So I'd say that that's one very fundamental change for us. Another comes actually in this scene, which you'll have seen previously. We made it so that Nate and his allies and all the enemies could use all of their traversal abilities on any object in the game. And that means that we could make enormous objects like this building, which collapses as Drake is running around, taking aim at enemies on it. It's something that is so difficult that not many video games try to do it, and so we made it one of our major goals at the start of the project, and I'm very happy with the way it's turning out.
It does look spectacular, the whole building collapsing. Also, the game will have a multiplayer component?
Yes, that's right. Multiplayer is a really important addition for Uncharted 2, and something that we're really excited about. We were delighted to be able to surprise people with it at a press conference just a few weeks ago. And a couple of nights, our online multiplayer beta went live. I was actually in there last night playing with members of the public, and it was just great to hear people on the microphones talking about just how much fun they were having. The play mechanics, the core mechanics of Uncharted 2 translate really well to a very fast-paced, fun multiplayer game, and we've put a ton of content in there that I think people are really going to be happy with just how much gameplay there is in Uncharted 2.
Big part of the game is obviously the story, and a lot of games are, as games are maturing, we also see narrative in games maturing. I talked to David Cage earlier, and he's certainly very proud of what he's accomplished with Heavy Rain. What is your opinion about narration and story in games, and where do you see it going in the future?
Well, I think that we're barely beginning to scratch the surface of what we can do with games, and we, of course, invest a huge amount of effort into storytelling. Uncharted 2 really is a new benchmark for us in terms of the quality of the performances, the quality of the writing that we put so much time and effort into. I think that one thing that's very interesting about Uncharted is that we have a real focus on character-driven storytelling. Many video games are plot-driven in their stories, whereas we think that most of the power of good storytelling comes from very rich, nuanced characters with subtleties to the relationships between them. And we're always using the other characters in the game, Nate's allies in particular, to draw out different aspects of Nathan Drake's character. It's one of the reasons why we're excited to have both Elena Fisher from the first game and Chloe Fraser, Drake's new partner in Misadventure, because they each reflect different aspects of Drake. Elena helps reflect on Drake's more heroic side, whereas Chloe helps show Drake's more reckless and self-interested side. So we always try and use storytelling techniques that allow us to keep the player in control of the action gameplay from moment to moment as much as we can. It's why we do so many set pieces with layered animations, and why we drop so much dialogue into the gameplay as the player is navigating through the environment. Drake talks with the allies around him, and that's we think a very powerful way of telling story and making this very rich, believable game world. I think that we're at the beginning of a very, very exciting time for interactive storytelling, we're excited that Uncharted 2 marks a huge step forwards for us.
Well, Richard, thank you very much for your time. In closing, do you have any last remarks for our listeners? Any comment?
Well, I want to say that your listeners won't have too long to wait for Uncharted 2. The game is coming out this autumn of 2009, and Nathan Drake and his half-tucked shirt are back with a vengeance. I can't wait to see how everyone enjoys it.
Speaking of which, when you brought it up, I have to. Tim Schafer's comment about a half-tucked shirt. What is your opinion on?
I think that we read Tim's blog post within moments of it going live, and you could hear the laughter all across Naughty Dog. It was great. We love Tim's games, and we were very pleased to see that he was picking up on the details of the design of our game.
Certainly the subtleties. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Johan.